to the land of the giants. Giant boulders. They're everywhere and they're huge and really amazing. Hey honey. Note to mark that this is the wrap up of day 6 from, oh my god, Mount Cooke to Nerang Hut. That is a little bit of an indication of what yesterday was like. So we didn't film in the hut at Nerang on the end of day 6 yesterday for a whole range of different reasons. The hut was absolutely chockers and there was no way that we could kind of go elsewhere to do a video because it was pouring with rain. So in the end we just gave up on it, and I'm actually doing this wrap up of day 6 from Gringer Creek Hut, where we're staying on the evening of day 7. Anyway, we hiked early out of Mount Cooke campsite on day 6, and it was an absolutely beautiful hike up Mount Cooke. Beautiful, basically hiking into the sunrise. We had left early with the intention of hiking about a 33-kilometre day onwards to here, to where we are at the end of day 7. When we got up to the top of Mount Cooke, it was absolutely stunning. We sort of lingered quite a while on the summit, took lots of photos. We started to come down off the summit, and it was wet because it had rained really heavily overnight the night before. So we're being really careful on the rocks because there were sort of soft sandy paths and then big sort of rocky outcrops that you had to traverse. It wasn't particularly difficult terrain, it was just the rocks were really wet. Anyway, there was a particular section of the trail that is apparently notorious for confusing people. And so the Bibbulmun Track Foundation had put a laminated explainer of how not to get lost in the shelter box at Mount Cooke. And so I had taken some photos of that, and I'd also committed it to memory. So when we came out onto the rocky outcrop in question, I had a visual of what I was expecting to see, which was a trail marker with a loop trail down the bottom, not where to go, and then a trail to the left that was less obvious, that was where we were supposed to go. Anyway, so I came out onto the rocky outcrop, couldn't see the trail marker at all, kind of figured, okay, so they haven't taken the photo from the perspective of where I am, which is where the trail emerges onto the rocky outcrop, which doesn't make sense to me. But anyway, and I could not for the life of me see the trail marker in question. So I'm edging across the rocks, the very wet rocks, looking for this trail marker, and I slipped. And I had my trekking poles, so I was able to not stop my fall, but slow down my fall, but there was no stopping it. I fell on the right side of my face and body, and quite heavily, and I had a brief moment of panic, thinking, well, that's it, hike over, I'm going to break my leg or something terrible. And then once I'd hit, realised that it actually wasn't that bad at all. And then, of course, the thing I was most worried about was, are my glasses broken? They're not. They're a bit mangled, but they're okay. So I shrieked out for Mark, and he came running because he'd gone round the left-hand side to scout for this trail marker. Anyway, I got up, brushed myself off. I was a bit shaken and pissed off, but I was fine. And we edged around to the right where I knew the trail marker would be, and it was. And then we managed to get off the mountain without further incident. It was slippery, slimy, light, and really slow going, but absolutely fine. really do think that the trail marker situation up there needs to be addressed, because it can be quite treacherous in the wet, and you could really avoid people having to go right out onto that rocky outcrop if there was some better placed and taller trail markers that weren't obscured by bushes. Anyway, so we then came down off the mountain without further incident, and it was absolutely beautiful. It was the most stunning hike. But then as we came to the bottom of the mountain, it started to rain. And I don't just mean a little bit of rain. I don't even mean heavy rain. I'm from Sydney, so I know all about heavy rain. It was, sorry YouTube, fucking torrential. Like, we've got really good rain gear, and it wetted out in minutes, and we were saturated and really like heavy with water weight, and it was unpleasant. Anyway, we knew Nerang Hut was not that far. Oh my God, fucking longest, whatever it was, 8 kilometres of my life. Anyway, it was a really unpleasant hike. It was just absolute head down, poles forward, just go as quickly as you can. We got to the hut and it was lovely, fine. We decided very quickly after getting a forecast from the Bivy Stick that we weren't going to hike on to Gringer Creek. We were going to stay at Nerang. And so we set up for that, and then we were like, yeah, we're going to have fun. Our trail buddies Haley and Raya will rock up, and we'll just have a chilled night in the shelter. And they did rock up, and we're all set up and looking forward to a really nice evening. And then absolute bed, like, it was just madness. I just don't even know how to describe it. Mark was like, oh, there's another hiker coming. Oh no, 2, oh 3, oh 4, oh 5. No, there was a whole troop of Sea Scouts with 2 scout leaders, bedraggled, wet, whiny, unhappy children, and a lot of them. And they just sort of came into the shelter. Of course they did. There was nowhere else for them to go. It was pouring with rain, and proceeded to kind of divest themselves of rain gear and packs and pack covers and pull out tents and half put up tents inside so they could then drag them out into the rain without having to get the inside of the tent wet. And anyway, this went on for a really long time, and we're just kind of sitting there in the middle of this going, oh, there goes our nice quiet evening. Anyway, then another hiker turned up. This very eccentric young man who kind of took his shoes off and then walked around the campsite, which was wet, and then lay down in the middle of the sleeping platform on a mat with these filthy, wet, dirty feet everywhere. It was really odd. Anyway, no, it gets even better. So we're sitting there going, this is just getting completely bizarre. Like, how can there be this many people at this shelter on a wet Saturday afternoon? Like, these were people these weren't through hikers. Like, they knew what the forecast was going to be. They could have exercised their option to not come out in that weather, but come they did. And then, kid you not, a whole other group of hikers rocked up. 4 dads from Perth, I think, including one who had hiked out into the torrential rain and didn't have a tent with him. So we then had to make room in an already crowded shelter for someone who had hiked out into torrential rain with no tent. The dads from Perth also did not understand trail etiquette or hiker etiquette at all. They proceeded to get pissed and chat to one another until all hours of the night while we were trying to sleep, and were in and out of their packs and shining like torches, not just headlamps, not even using like red light, but torches into our faces while they were getting things out of packs over and over again over the course of the evening. Anyway, it was a nightmare, an absolute nightmare. So we got up as early as we felt it was appropriate to do so at about 6 this morning, and ate a very quick breakfast and had a coffee and hiked out. And now we are at Gringer Creek, and it is quiet and sunny and beautiful, and we're drying all of our gear. And yeah, that was day 6. it was a whole vibe.